Hey everyone, my name is Todd, and welcome back to SAS Film Breakdowns. Today we're going deep, not with a speedster receiver, but with a D3 offensive tackle. Ben Bartch became the first St. John's, Minnesota player to be drafted in the NFL since 1974, and the first Division III player drafted at all since Ali Marpet in 2015. The Jaguars selected Bartch 116th overall in the 4th round, after he rose through the process capitalizing on invites to the Senior Bowl and Combine, much like Marpet did 5 years ago. Bartch told us in Mobile the two had been in contact, and Marpet was very supportive in helping him make the big transition. Bartch measured in at 6'5" and 6'8", 309 pounds, which is impressive given where he was just 2 years ago. A third-string tight end for the Johnnies, Bartch was moved to tackle based on his blocking prowess, and proceeded to gain about 60 pounds, with the help from that crazy smoothie many of you saw him show off at the Combine. His sub-33-inch arms have led some to project him to guard, but he's more than capable on the perimeter as well. So let's dive into the film and see what the Jags are getting. We're first going to take a look at what he was facing week to week in Division III, and then see how he fared against the jumping competition down at the Senior Bowl. The first thing we need to address when discussing and evaluating Ben Bartch's game film is what his level of competition in D3 actually looked like. We'll run through a few plays to start off here to give a general sense of how most of his reps in college went. As you'd expect, a 6'6", 300-pound lineman with the movement skills of a former tight end isn't going to have much issue going up against much smaller players with only a fraction of the strength and athleticism he'll face in his first NFL training camp. Bartch's most impressive trait is actually the level of technique he plays with at this stage of his development, especially in his lower half in the passing game. Not just for a small school player, but for any lineman with only 2 years of experience. But on most plays against opponents like Gustavus Adolphus or Concordia College, he doesn't really need to exert himself beyond a smooth kick slide to gain positioning and mirror, and some pushing and shoving at contact in order to win snap to snap. You want to focus on Bartch, but it's hard not to notice what he's facing, and that can leave a huge question mark in his evaluation. So knowing all this, let's look closer to his physical attributes to see what can translate immediately and what he'll need to work on. On this play, Bartch is going up against Concordia's 3-man front, which actually gave him a bit more trouble physically than most of their opponents. We'll let the play run in full speed first, then break down what we're seeing in slow-mo. St. John's threw the ball a ton out of shotgun, so despite his limited overall experience, he has gotten a lot of reps in pass pro. His kick slide out of his stance into this vertical set is beautiful. He sits back with great knee bend into perfect form, and quickly chops his feet with a steady upper half. At contact, that knee bend helps him anchor, and he locks his arms out through the block. We can see a slight lack of lower body strength as number 52 pushes the pocket a bit, but the technical aspects of pass protection are all there for Bartch. Switching over to his abilities in the run game, those same positive and negative traits translate. When you combine his athleticism with his still developing lower body strength, it makes sense he's a more impactful zone blocker than in man or power schemes. He's great at getting a jump off the ball and ranging laterally, flipping his hips to reach and seal, then showing off some occasional nastiness downfield, just to remind the defense who the NFL prospect is. On the second play, he again does a great job of getting position on an inside technique. You can see a flash of some leg drive off the line of scrimmage, but then he loses it and gets tabletopped over the pile to finish the play. He doesn't show that vertical push off the ball consistently enough to be a true drive blocker at the next level, at least early on. So you're probably wondering, like I and many others were, how all of this would look on a field with other NFL caliber talent, especially if any strength concerns would be highlighted. Although he didn't play in the Senior Bowl game, his week of practice in Mobile was overall very successful, and the most positive thing you can say about a Division III prospect there is that they fit in and look the part. In these one-on-one reps against Terrell Lewis, Jabari Zuniga, and Anthony Jennings, 3 premier SEC edge rushers who all would be taken in the 3rd round a few months later, Bartch more than holds his own. You see the footwork, the knee bend, the sit into contact. His technique stood out all week compared to his O-line teammates, and he mostly wasn't overwhelmed physically. That's not to say he was perfect, of course. He recovers in the hand battle here against Penn State D-tackle Robert Windsor, who gets knocked off balance, and Bartch finishes the rep, but Windsor exploited that aggression up top in their second matchup, as did a few other players. To go back to a D3 play before we return to Mobile, this is a great example of the good and bad Bartch has shown. Again, he shows that beautiful kick slide, patient hands, and the ability to mirror inside and out, but at the end of this play he gets complacent, misses with his hands up high, and gets yanked on a push-pull move. Keep that in mind. Facing DJ Wanham of South Carolina, instead of complacency, Bartch gets a bit too top-heavy to compensate for his power limitations, and an experienced, longer defender takes advantage with a similar move. And again to that matchup at guard with Windsor, Bartch widens out to try and anchor, but in doing so loses his balance and succumbs to the same curtain pull technique. He just hasn't seen many difficult rush moves yet. Counter-blocking defenses will come to him as he gets challenged more in the future. New Jags offensive coordinator Jay Gruden, in his last 21 games as head coach of the Washington Redskins, ran a zone blocking scheme in his run game 74% of carries. John DeFilippo's Jaguars offense last year was a more balanced 52 to 48% split between zone and man schemes. Bartch fits Gruden's mold of having athletic, rangy linemen to run lateral stretch plays with, which activate his play-action game. Bartch still needs developing, and the Jaguars have two strong bookends ahead of him in Jawan Taylor and Cam Robinson. But what they don't have anymore is their swing tackle, Cedric Ogbuehi, who left in free agency. If Bartch can work on cross-training his footwork and technique to the right side, or even keep adding bulk to bump inside, he profiles as a top reserve across multiple O-line positions. He's been a quick learner moving from tight end to tackle, and a quick developer of his technique and body, so he definitely has a ceiling for more down the road as he adjusts to the pro game. Thanks for watching SIS Film Breakdowns. Make sure to go get the SIS Football Rookie Handbook for all the answers on who your favorite team drafted, register for a free trial of the SIS DataHub for all these stats and more, and don't forget to tune into the Off the Charts Football Podcast. Until next time, I'm John Todd.